Good evening and welcome to our regular meeting for October. Glad you could join us. We'd like to begin each meeting with a moment of silence and would invite you to join us if you care to. Thank you. First is the Pledge of Allegiance and highlights Walhalla Elementary. Miss Hartside, where are you?
Here.
There you are. Come on up.
There's time. Where you want me to go?
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to start with the pledge?
Do you have
Yeah,
a
we
student?
could, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I brought my honors choir students with me. If you guys could join me up here along with their music teacher, Miss Williams. Ms. Williams will share just a little bit about what these wonderful students have been experiencing, starting, going down.
Hey, where you guys can see the cameraman right there.
Straight line.
There you go.
There you go. All right, we are missing two students tonight. They are out of town for the holiday, but just want to brag on these students. In February, 9 of Walhalla Elementary's chorus members auditioned to be a part of the 2019 Elementary Honor Choir of the South Carolina American Choral Directors Association. In March, they received notification that all of them were chosen as members. We found out later that 7 of them received a perfect score on their audition of 24, and 2 of them received a score of 23 out of 24. Walhalla Elementary also celebrated that we have the second highest representation from a school in the state. They rehearsed their concert music after returning to school this school year, and last week we traveled to Charleston Southern University and joined 150 other students chosen from across the state. They rehearsed with their clinician, Sally Albrecht, who is a very well-known elementary music composer and clinician, before performing in their concert as a group. And during the concert, Walhalla's own Sophia Farmer, you can raise your hand, Sophia. She was chosen as a soloist for the concert. I would love to just highlight and brag on the students' initiative to record an audition. It takes a lot of courage for a 10-year-old and 11-year-old to record an audition that they know is going to be heard statewide. I want to brag on their commitment to rehearse their music and to come in before school and during recess some days and after school, so they really knew their music beforehand. And I would like to also brag on our parents and just your support, both emotionally and financially, and your support of their love for singing and wanting to go above and beyond. It is because of all that, plus our very supportive administration and our faculty as a school at Walhalla Elementary, and also at the district level, with them allowing us to provide our students with opportunities like this. It's why we continue to grow our chorus program and really make a mark at the state level. Their names are...
I have their certificates of appreciation. So first is Maya Cobb. Congratulations. Walker Crawford. Sophia Farmer. Avery Frazier. Ella Ganson. Calla McCall. Isabella Reed. And then one for you too, Miss Williams. Thank you, Carla. So if we could just give them one more round of applause.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
guys. Thank
Good
you for
job.
coming.
Okay, next is celebrating our successes, Dr. Thorson.
Just a couple of things that have happened maybe in the last week or so. the high school that most of these young people will be going to in a few years. They had a chorus event Saturday night in the rain. That was a new event for Walhalla High School's chorus that was very well attended, and they did a great job. The 3 high school band programs all participated in the upper state competition on Saturday, and West Oak did well enough to where they'll be going to the state competition next weekend. So we're proud of the West Oak band. And then also today, students were celebrating the day at home, but we had, I guess, probably 800 teachers involved with professional development, and hopefully perfecting their craft so they can be better at what they do to teach our young people. We had art teachers, I think, go up to Highlands today to do some in-service together as a group, and then we had different groups of teachers all over the district learning different things. So good positive day for our teachers to learn a little bit of their own while students were out of the building.
Okay, thank you. Next is approval of tonight's agenda. Anyone have any corrections to make? Then without objection, the agenda for October 21st, 2019, the regular board meeting is approved. Public comment, Ms. Gibson, did we have?
Mr. McBride.
Come on up, sir. Just right over there by the microphone, if you would.
Good evening. First off, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for what y'all do for our school districts and all the affiliations that y'all are involved with that we don't know of. I came here don't know exactly when it was. My young son's autistic. I came one time before, and I just wanted to speak out for him again. He's in 2nd grade now, and he's had a little bit of an issue with reading to learn. You know, 1st grade you learn to read, 2nd grade you read to learn. So comprehension is kind of a stimulating, overwhelming thing for him. So they had to move him to a classroom of Miss Green. It's a self-contained room, and I just want to thank y'all for that opportunity, because it's really changed his progressive level. We've had several IEP meetings with the teachers and those involved with this situation. But my wife at first thought maybe, you know, we were depriving him of something. Well, you got to think of the whole. You know, it's not just our son being special needs. It's all the kids in the classroom seeing him the way he's doing, things like that. Okay, so he's big on PBS. So, if you will, a young lady misunderstood that word and he got in trouble. So the self-containment has helped with that as well, because there's only one other student in there at the time. So my request would be, maybe with the group of special needs kids that's involved in the school, maybe widening this room, or a bigger room perhaps, maybe more staff on hand that can help with that situation, because I know the teacher to student ratio, I'm not sure what the numbers are, but I know there's a ratio. Of course, you got to have the proper hands that need, especially with special needs children, because you know their chemical balance is different, their makeup's different, what stimulates them is different, but they're all special. But again, I just wanted to thank y'all, and I went to the suicide awareness, and I thought that was great. There were people that spoke that I'm affiliated with that I had no clue that was in their realm of life. That's another thing that I was a troubled teen, did different things, got in trouble in school, but I've got kids now, and now I see the other side of you. I've got 3 boys and 3 jobs. So again, I compliment y'all on everything that y'all do for the school district. I got 3 boys, it's overwhelming for me. I can't imagine what y'all do with thousands and thousands. Again, I thank y'all for that. But maybe if we could try to come up with another, again, the whole school system, you know. If the special needs kid's lashing out because he can't have chicken nuggets in a roll, you know, the other kids are gonna say, well, hey, you know, he's not acting right, you know, let me act up a little bit, you know, he's getting attention this way, let me get a little more attention. So maybe, you know, of course, y'all got more experience with things like this, a lot more knowledge, a lot more things under your belt. So of course, I would agree with anything that y'all come up with to help with this situation. You know, again, I'm thinking of the whole. You know, I was blessed with an autistic son, but yet he goes to a public school with hundreds of kids. So there's no I or you in team, but there is a us. I think that's, you know, it's something that's progressing a little more in our area. There's a few other things that I'd like to say, but the main thing is the code red thing that y'all had at the high school a while back too. I went to that as well, and a lot of the parents was, you know, how do we, our kids don't know about it. One lady said that her child had been there 14 years going to this school district and don't know what a code red is. I know I'm kind of bouncing around, but I challenged the parents there that night when I spoke, because it starts at home. If you want your child to know how to act proper at school, like you said on coffee time, it starts at home. But he didn't say that particularly. Sorry, I don't want to kind of put him under the bus there. He's talking about the way that y'all are doing with the kids, because when they get out in society, that's the way life is. And that's the thing. The moral values of an honest man is a dying breed these days. And it takes people like you, people like me, to step forward and to make a difference for our county. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Anyone else? Next is approval of minutes for the September 9th work session and September 16th regular board meeting. Anyone notice any errors? Anything that needs to be changed? If not, without objection, we will approve the September 9th, 2019 and September 16th, 2019 minutes. Okay, action items, approval of 2020 board meeting dates. I think everyone's seen them. Mr. Hand, do you have any other comments to make on them?
No, sir, other than the reminder that we did combine the April meetings into one. The rest of it matches up exactly with what we have now on the calendar as far as we go, just moving it a year out.
It's basically the same schedule we're on.
Yes, sir.
Can I get a motion to approve the 2020 board meeting dates?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the 2020 board meeting dates.
Second.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. All in favor? 4-0. Next is approval of the 2019 SCSBA voting delegates. I think 4 of us are attending, and we have 4 votes. If something happened and one couldn't be there, the other 3 still cast 4 votes. So we discussed this last week. So is there a motion to approve the voting delegates for the?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 2019 SCSBA voting delegates.
Second.
Motion second to approve as listed. All in favor? First reading approval, policy JFB school choice, and we can do JFB-R school choice administrative rule at the same time, Mr. Handy, if you want.
Okay. In JFB, the only change is we are getting the second bullet in line where it used to say the request is submitted prior to the June 30th deadline. We had adjusted that form, and we want it to be the first Friday in June. That's what we did this past year, and we just needed to get that up to date with the form. And then the second part is about the changes that we put in where we kind of adjusted the, look at my paper, but anyway, I'll just go off here, where we adjusted the amount of in-school suspensions, out-of-school suspensions, etc., In-school actually didn't change. In elementary, we went from 1 day allowed of out of school to none. In middle and high, we went from 3 days of out of school to no more than 1. I gave you the numbers of the differences that it would make. Attendance, the only thing that was added, and it didn't make a significant change at all, because most of our students who have 10 unexcused absences do have an attendance plan, but we did include that in case somebody slipped through the cracks and didn't get an attendance plan, or maybe they went over in May and they didn't have time to do the attendance plan. I think that made the difference of, you know, a few people. I know it was 4 at the elementary school, so there wasn't many. So the 2 criteria will be not having an attendance plan in the past 2 academic years. We'll go back 2 years for that one, and then not having more than the 10 unexcused absences. And then for academic performance, elementary did not change. When we say making adequate progress toward promotion, what we mean is that you've got the skill set and you have basically mastered the standards at the current grade level, and you're going to be promoted to the next grade level, and you're not behind. In Miller High, they were, the current policy allows for 2 failures. Our principals thought that was excessive, so they actually had asked about going to 0. We kind of met in the middle and said no more than 1 final failing grade. So that's at the end of a semester for a semester class, or the year for a year class. So those are the changes we have, and again, the recommendation comes from Ms. Hughes and the principals. As we had this meeting last month, and they talked about it, and we talked about it with them extensively, so they would like to see these changes. I think, as I said before, if the changes are implemented, students who are currently on school choice will fall under the current policy. Anybody who's new to school choice would be under the new policy if you guys make any adjustments. I think that was basically it.
Any questions, Mr. Handy?
I have a question. I wondered if maybe prior to second reading or at second reading, we could maybe have a report of the demographics, such as race, ethnicity, and students on free and reduced lunch who are affected, who would.
Okay, I've got free and reduced numbers for what we currently do. Dr. Thorson, did you bring those in? I got them right here.
I can.
We currently, for this school year, we have 1,441 kids who are on school choice. So I'm gonna give you some percentages in a minute, but and then so out of that, 422 are free lunch, and 85 are reduced. So that equals 507.
Was right at 35% of the.
And that is 35% of the total that we have are our free and reduced lunch kids, so 65% are our full pay kids.
And I had asked Mr. Hamby to pull that because I was interested as well. I was pleased with that number because I was afraid that school choice was going to be something that was only reserved for, you know, the kids who aren't considered in poverty. But to think that 35% of that 1,441 are our free and reduced lunch students, that shows me that our policy's not being, you know, only used by students who are middle class or, you know, not in poverty, I guess is the best way to say that. So we've got students in all different situations that seem to be taking advantage of school choice. So it's still not the exact same percentage as our overall student body, but 35 is still a fairly significant percentage.
Dr. Sloan, you said, and I can get whatever you want. I'd probably just send it to you in advance so you would have it before we got there. But you said ethnicity, free and reduced lunch status, and you said one more.
Right, that's basically it.
Okay, so as long as you got.
And maybe the number of OSS and ISS.
How that would affect those numbers?
Right.
And you have that.
Well, I
You
don't
just
have it by
for-
breakdown.
okay,
Yeah, I just have the
okay.
specific. I'll have to work. I'm glad we don't have a meeting for a little while. I'll have to work with Stephanie Visage to get that breakdown. But I can have that. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, I think we can do those two together as on first reading. If I could have a motion to approve policy JFB school choice and JFB-R school choice administrative rule, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the recommendation of administration to approve on first reading policy JFB school choice and policy JFB-R school choice administrative rule.
A second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Those in favor? 4-0. Then, second reading, we'll start with policy EEAE bus safety program. Ms. Tanby?
Yes, and this is the one that we discussed before where I did the research. Basically, this is just getting us in line with the Commercial Motor Vehicle Safety Act updates and several federal codes that have been updated. It's not hardly any change at all for us. Remember the one question was about where it said the transportation staff would be the ones randomly drug tested. No, and I got clarification from the State Department's legal office that said anybody in the district who's driving with a CDL is considered transportation
Yeah,
staff.
even if they're
That would
not
be coaches,
regular
that would
bus
be
drivers, coaches.
teachers. If they don't drive a bus route, but if they're driving on field trips, whatever, they would still be fall under that and still be in that pool for
Well,
random
that
drug
was
tests.
not the case in the past, though, was it?
No, they have been, yes,
They
sir.
have been? We've been doing, okay,
We wanted to make sure we maintain that.
yeah.
That ability was the reason, because anybody's gonna be driving a bus with kids, we need to make sure that we have
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So those are really the only, I mean, that was the significant change. It wasn't really a change, it's just the way it's worded. If there's specific questions, I'm happy to go through and answer them, but I don't really want to read it all to you if y'all need me to.
Can we get a motion to approve policy EEAE bus safety program on second reading?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve on second reading policy EEAE bus safety program.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor? Next is policy IHBF medical homebound instruction. Ms. Simmons.
Yes, sir. This is the policy just that has our district's provision on when students are able to qualify for medical homebound. Not a lot of additions to this policy, just the addition of a physician's assistant or an APRN can also award that permission to a student, and that we just have the proper forms that we complete by the superintendent or its designee for that type of instruction to take place for the student.
Any questions, Ms. Simmons? Can we get a motion to approve policy IHBF medical homebound instruction on second reading?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve policy IHBF medical homebound instruction
Second.
on second reading.
Motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Policy IKA-R grading and assessment systems.
Yes, this has to do with our grading and assessment system being in line with the uniform grading policy. So it breaks down our grading scale, the conversion process that we use, information about our end of course testing, as well as our honors AP dual credit classes, how we offer those to students, what we do as far as our procedures with transfers within courses, withdrawals from courses, as well as how if we want students to audit a class, what are our procedures there, and what are our major minor grades, as well as our floor grade policy. All of those are within this policy. Nothing's changed from the last time that I had presented that to you.
Any questions on the grading assessment?
Now, this is in line with the state's.
Yes, sir.
And their uniform grading system.
The state puts out a pretty comprehensive policy. They offer a little bit of wiggle room to districts on certain aspects of it, but ours it's not controversial or anything like that. I mean, it pretty much follows the states, and then we just, you know, on things like, what are the things where they give us some choice, like retaking a course?
Right.
Districts have some options on how they can do that, and different things like that, but very minor changes. Most districts have to adopt, I mean, we have to go by what the state provides in most cases.
And like our grading scale for kindergarten through 5th grade, we
Yeah,
have
that's
some
something
wiggle
we have
room
some
on
wiggle
that
room.
too, how we want to assess
So of course,
that.
we talk to our teachers and find out what works best for them, and then that's what we put in the policy.
Any other questions? Could we get a motion to approve policy IKA-R grading assessment systems? On
Mr.
second
Chairman,
reading?
I move that we approve the recommendation of administration on policy IKA-R, the grading and assessment system.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve IKA-R grading assessment systems. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, lastly is policy KLGA, school resource officers. Ms. Tanfi.
And this one kind of tidied up what we have tried to do in our district already, which is making sure that our SROs are handling things that they should be handling, and our assistant principals are handling things that they should be handling, because we typically shouldn't get the SRO involved unless it is a chance for a violation of a law. And that it also clears up, based on some instances in other districts, some things that had happened with that, what they should and shouldn't do as far as removing kids. But the one big one in the bottom paragraph is about disturbing schools. That was a charge that was used on a fairly regular basis with our own students, for if you became out of hand in class and totally disrupted. That was not the intent when it was set up that way. So it is very difficult now to charge a student with disturbing schools. It is now focused on someone who comes in from outside the school, parents, somebody walking by, whatever, before to be charged with disturbing schools. So that was the big change. We had already, like on the back it says, help with training on handling crisis situations. With the way we do our Code Red, which Alex mentioned, we do that, we video it, we use that as a training session. Ms. Hughes and Mr. Lyles go to every school and talk to the staff about Code Reds and what we do and those kind of things. So we use ours for those already.
Okay. Any questions, Ms. Tanvi?
Steve?
Yes, sir.
A student in school who is disturbing the class, or who is just out of control, at what point do we call the resource officer in to help deal with that?
It would be when, of course, it would be their judgment, but if they were, chances they could hurt themselves or someone else, if they wouldn't leave with the assistant principal who went to get them, to bring them out of the situation. Let's say they press the buzzer and, you know, come down there and Steve's misbehaving and Steve's throwing a fit and not going to go, then they could get the resource officer to help in that case if needed to. Where they're trying to keep them out of is just basic first of line investigation things, and things just starting and then sitting in there and being involved in that. But with those, it would be judgment calls on that. But definitely, if they're in danger, the student themselves or anybody else in the classroom is in danger for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Could we get a motion to approve policy KLGA, school resource officers, on second reading?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve policy KLGA, school resource officers, second reading.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, that concludes the open session portion of the agenda. We now have an executive session for employment recommendations and changes and an update on the Central Middle School property. And we will return. Without objection, we will move into executive session. Thank y'all.